Hey, buddy. Welcome back, folks. We're back for another Top 25 release here on Monday nights, as we do every single Monday night. If you guys have not seen our Top 25 list, go out there and take a list, but we will also give you those 25 through one reverse order so you get a better idea. We're not going to go through every single team on the list, but we are going to talk about the key notes here. I am joined today by Will Massa. How we doing, Will?
I'm doing great. You know, another top 25, another opportunity for fans to voice their opinions to us.
We love it, man. We love it. Even if you say we're dead wrong on teams, it's early, guys. This is week 2. We've seen like up to 9 games for these teams. That's it. That's all the data we've been given. We know what we've seen in the preseason. I know, Will. We've been getting blown up all day.
It's always good, right? Like I like watching fans of teams defend their teams, and a lot of them have valid points. Some of the better points I saw through the day were like, so much of it is based on preseason ranks right now because non-conference schedules are so all over the place. Like the difference in strength and schedule with so many teams makes it really tough to rank teams over other teams. Like there are teams that look really good outside the top 25 right now, and there are teams that look kind of bad within it. But it's like, are we really going to overreact this early in the season on both ends? Like someone outside of it looks so, yeah, right. Of course, we should be doing that. But so it's a really fun time of year. Like in my opinion, rankings don't become like weighted until essentially conference play. Like I look at it after the first week of conference play, you can really gauge how good teams are. But nonetheless, I still love watching people, throw out stuff about their teams or this team has looked really bad. And we're going to talk about a lot of them. So I'm excited for that.
I'm excited for it. We're also joined by Jason Ratcliffe from 6'4 Analytics. How we doing, Jason? Welcome back.
Hey, man. Good to be here. Sad I missed Saturday morning with the live stream. Couldn't keep my 5-0 alive. It's shameless plug here, but this is really why at the site I run, 6'4X, we don't do rankings for the first 3 weeks. I know they create a ton of, comments, and everyone likes to talk about like who's right and who's wrong. But exactly to Will's comment, like it's nearly impossible to state like a good win versus a bad win right now, because I mean, think about A&M last year. Like everyone was talking about, oh my gosh, like what a massive loss, like this number 1 team. But then it turned out like they weren't even a tournament team. Like sometimes like when you try to make these declarative statements early on of good or bad, and it ends up being 100% wrong by the time all the cookie crumbles in the manner that.
Well, look at Vanderbilt last year. Vanderbilt ends up as the number 1 national seed. Like I can guarantee you, nobody predicted that they would even be close to that. They're the number 1 national seed. So it's the nature of the sport. And Jason, to your point, like it's kind of just a lot. It's kind of what we do this early, right? It's like it's fun to put together. It's fun to say like who's playing well, who's playing. I view it more so as like who's playing well right now this early, regardless of what it looks like, and who's struggling, right? And I think it's more this early, like who's going to be there at the end of the year, more so than is this currently the 15th best team in the country.
Yeah, and there's so many questions, right? And again, I'm Mark Garland, your host of the Top 25 show here, brought to you by Just Baseball Media. We are the college baseball show, doing this every single Monday, guys. Keep joining us. But this is the conversations we have. And we have these behind closed doors. We also want to do it in front of you guys so you see our transparency. As I always release my personal top 25 every Monday with our poll, so you guys can see just what we do. It's a collective. There's a lot of people that vote on this thing here at Just Baseball Media. And everybody's got different opinions, and that's what it is this early in the season. It's really hard to say that one team playing another team matters more than anything else. I mean, Miami is a team that I am very high on. They're 9-0, but other people had them much lower because they haven't really played competition so far, and we don't know what that competition is. Maybe the teams they played are really good. We don't know that yet. It's way too early to tell any of this information. But we're going to dive into it here. Will UCLA gain some swagger back? Roch now has 6 home runs in 7 games. That's a tear. He hit 5 this weekend. I mean, there's a reason why we named him as our player of the week with the 5 home runs.
Yeah, absolutely. He had him and Will Gasparino combined for 16 RBI against TCU this weekend. Just
Yeah.
unbelievably, just what that offense was able to do against TCU. And I know a lot of Frog fans are ready to hit the panic button right now, but I think you got to look at it this way too. Like, you lose Tommy Laporte, so all of a sudden you're starting a guy on Sunday that is making his first career start, his first collegiate start. Like, losing a Friday night guy isn't just losing a big arm on Friday. It also bumps up who you're throwing on Sunday, especially with short rosters and especially with some injury stuff. Like, you don't have one guy ready. All of a sudden, you're down to arm number 13 on Sunday when you could be on arm number 9. It changes changes everything within a series. So I think it says more about UCLA, them able to bounce back. Because quite frankly, I was underwhelmed with them in weekend 1. Like, I thought they looked okay. Like, nothing to really rave about, quite honestly. But man, this weekend, Gasparino and Roch in the middle of that order is going to be crazy through this year if they continue to do what they do. Those two together just had themselves a hell of a weekend and really surged that UCLA offense.
Yeah, and Molovai Levi, he had a great weekend too. So, like, he had a great weekend too. So it's not even like there was any person you could point at on UCLA and be like, okay, well, they struggled. Of course, there was, different people. But, Jason, UCLA, clearly they're one of the top 5 teams in the country. Most people have them at 1 or 2. And they kind of proved it this weekend against TCU. And now it was at home. And again, TCU's missing some pieces, so that really hurts. Again, early in the season, if you miss a Friday night guy, like Will was saying, that bumps up so many innings because you're already losing 5 innings from a guy. And now you have to put on some probably arms that we're not planning on throwing on the weekends in general. But what was your takeaway just from UCLA playing ball this weekend?
Really the biggest takeaway was just the dominance. I think when I went into it, I assumed that UCLA was going to win the series. I think having, Laporte out, at home, I was thinking about this earlier today. UCLA almost reminds me a little bit of a Gonzaga in like a basketball form of they're looking at their non-con and saying, this is probably one of our biggest weekend series of the year and we need to win it. So I think they went into this, they had it circled. They said, we need to win this to show voters, to show whomever that we deserve that kind of top 3 national seed. Because I think when at the end of the year, we're going to be looking back and they're probably going to have 40 plus, probably closer to 50 wins after the Big Ten Conference. And people are going to be trying to, play this like, well, A beat B, B beat C, therefore should A beat C, kind of like logical gameplay. And I think they wanted to show this of like, hey, we took it to TCU. TCU beat some of the best in the SEC. Therefore, that means we are additionally on par with some of the best in the SEC. So I think that they circled this weekend and it showed.
Yeah, they did what they're supposed to do, right? They went out there, They won games at home. Now, they didn't look terrific in week 1. They looked really good this week and beating a talented TCU team. No matter what TCU is missing on pitching side, they're still a talented offense. And the pitching side for UCLA showed up throughout their entire staff. And that was very impressive to me and a reason why we have them ranked so high. Let's move to Southern Miss. 6-1 now, guys. And the only loss is to Jackson Flora, who might be the second highest rated right-handed pitcher in this year's draft. I mean, that's the kind of arm he is, and facing him opening day is tough. But after opening day, they're 6-0. They beat teams this weekend. They beat Baylor, Purdue, and they handled Oregon State pretty easily. Jason, this Southern Miss team continues to climb, and it's just impressive.
Yeah, looking back on the weekend, like I think the biggest surprise for me was probably them versus Oregon State. Like I have them beating Purdue. I have them beating Baylor, but seeing them going out winning, 9-4 versus Oregon State like that was definitely a statement. Again, almost exactly what we were just saying with UCLA. Like, okay, they're going to be in the Sun Belt. Like the Sun Belt is a good conference, but they're going to have to like say like, hey, we're one of those top teams in the Sun Belt, therefore, give us a regional host, give us that 15, 16 seed that they sometimes are getting. So for me, like, I didn't like looking over, I didn't see a ton of players over the week that kind of maybe Urban like jumped out for me as like having like a big time week, but it wasn't as if like every player was, had like that 800 and above OPS. So, I mean, it wasn't like, it didn't make waves, but they won every game, and they won it in a really talented weekend series.
Yeah, and I mean, they haven't even had their best performances yet. Honestly, that this
Yeah,
team looks like
yeah.
it's just playing well as a team. Kobe Allen hasn't necessarily shined. He's been good, but he hasn't gone out there and been like, "Oh, this is an ace. This is this is a Middleton from last year." That's not really what you've
Sunstrom.
seen from this team. Yeah,
Sunstrom has
Sunstrom.
looked
Yep.
really, really
Sundstrom's looked
good.
good. He's come up in
Yeah,
some big situations and pitched really, really well.
yeah,
I like this team. Will, what was your takeaways here from this? I mean, that's a big 3-0 to go there and be 6-0 after that opening day loss.
Yeah, you guys hit all my points. Jason touched on Sunstrom, who was unreal this weekend. And my biggest point on Southern Miss is like they're not playing their best baseball yet. They
Yeah.
really are not. Like I thought they didn't look super sharp against Purdue. I didn't think they looked particularly sharp against Baylor. They pulled away late, and that's kind of what they've done in a couple of those games. We saw it against UCSB as well. Like they battle late. This team is just really freaking good, man. I mean, Christian Ostrander going for his 10th consecutive 40-plus win season. Like you just come to expect it at this point. I mean, they're unbelievable, and I rank them very highly because I think as a body of work, they've been one of the most impressive teams in the country, despite not having played their best baseball yet. And Jason, to your point, like they don't play Coastal Carolina this year, so these
No
non-con games
Coastal
are
and
even
Sun
more.
Belt.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
even more important for them to go out and beat an Oregon State.
Yeah. They get Alabama on the Tuesday this week. They get Mississippi State on the Tuesday next week. So those are big games for them, win or lose. Those are some big games, and they get both of those teams at home. So Alabama and Mississippi State are both coming to Pete Taylor, which is crazy.
It's
That
gonna be rocking.
ballpark's outstanding.
Yes.
So I expect that to be wild on Tuesday. But yeah, to you guys' point, I mean, this is a good Southern Miss team. They haven't even played their best baseball yet, and they just seem like they're together. They go out there, they know what the goal is. Somebody steps up and makes a big play or a big hit or a big pitch, and all of a sudden they find themselves on the winning side. 6-1 is a good way to start this. Again, they got to go out there and keep winning these midweeks because, again, they don't play Coastal this year. They do play Troy, but the rest of the Sun Belt is not as highly rated, so they got to go out there and go pile up wins early. Big one there to go get it against Oregon State. I think that's a big one for them, as many wins as we project Oregon State to pile up this year in the RPI standings. Miami, the offense, man, they're 9-0. You could argue about who they played. That game against UCF is up for game of the year contention already, as it was fantastic back and forth there at the Mark Light. 144 runs, 16 runs per game, 2.02 runs per inning that they have scored right now, Will. That's wild. They're scoring 2 runs an inning of what they've played.
Yeah, and I know just perusing other rankings, we have them higher than most, but I say this every week. Like there's something to be said about going out and just handling teams that you're better than.
Yeah.
And when you're outscoring your entire body of work 144-37 through 9 games, like it's cause for attention, right? Like good examples, like we see these teams like Tennessee struggled this weekend with Kent State. Not that Kent State is a bad baseball team. It's a very good ball club. But Miami is just beating the brakes off of teams. Like even we've seen some sleepy spots. Like we saw Auburn struggle with Youngstown in 2 games last weekend. So it's not like these teams are prone to not having sleepy spots, but Miami just has shown up and just taken it to teams. And I think there's a lot to be said there. I said it last week. I'm really excited for them to start playing some legit competition. But I thought they looked really good against UCF. I think that's a UCF team I'm pretty high on. I think they've showed out pretty well. LSU handled them this weekend, which was really impressive. I thought that was going to be a really good game, but
yeah,
man, you just have to be impressed. I think it's as simple as that. I'm really excited to watch them as they play better competition too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean they had 5 guys that had 15 or more total bases on the week. I mean, again, apologies, I'm going to butcher names, but Debovic was insane as a true freshman. He had like an 18 slug. So he had a 2,600 OPS on the week, which is just absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, they were putting up video game numbers, and we'll get to it. But them versus Florida is probably like my weekend series of the week. I'm really excited about that one.
It's gonna be electric. We cannot wait for that one. Honestly, and they got 2 superstars in Alex Sosa and Daniel. They both have Daniel Cuvée. They both have 5 home runs already. So you're talking about guys that are performing early in the season. We love to see that. You know what, Jason? We can talk about it. Right? Dylan Dubovic. He is our freshman of the week. I mean, the fact is, 8 for 10, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. Comes in and plays the left field.
He had
Max
3
Calvin
home
down
runs,
for a
right?
little while. Did he hit a 3rd one?
I think I could be wrong. I thought he hit a third one. I'm going crazy.
It might be 3. I kind of just the last 2 games there on what he was starting. He may have come in and got a hit a home run when he was pinch hitting. The guy
Apologies.
was terrific though, coming in and just a random freshman getting his opportunity and stepping up huge for them over the weekend. Love to see that. So he is our freshman of the week. We've already named our player of the week in Roch Cholowsky, who had the 5 home runs and 10 RBIs. We'll keep going on here before we get to our pitch of the week.
Just a note on that. He had 0 Ks and 11 ABs,
Did not,
which
yeah.
for a freshman who's basically swinging for the downs, that's pretty wild. So not only was he putting for power, but he was either getting on or he was putting in play every single time. So really impressive stuff.
Yeah, great at bats. It's what you love to see, especially, and we don't know how long Max Galvin's going to be out for. He did
Yeah.
break that bone in his foot. Good replacement. I mean, it gives you an opportunity. There's some guys that really stepped up for him.
Yeah.
It feels pretty good if you're Miami right now going, okay, well, we had an injury on offense. We got guys. And that's just crazy. We love to see it. Let's talk about another team that's dealing with a lot of injuries. We did get some positive news from them. It sounds like Eddie Madrigal may be back for Auburn at some point this season, near the end of the season. He had a knee injury in the preseason. Really sad to see him go down with it. He had 21 home runs last year for St. Mary's. He might come back for Auburn late. Chris Rembert's been out for them also. But the pitching was so good, Jason. Like, that was unbelievable effort from them to shut down some really good teams.
Yeah. So they had probably one of our we ranked the top 10 pitchers for the weekend. Marciano, he was a transfer
Marciano.
from Virginia. Jake Marciano. He in 2 starts he has 20 Ks and he has not walked a guy yet. He's looked absolutely dominant. And then they've had I think it was Drew Whalen who's from
Western
Kentucky, if I remember correctly. Yep. Yeah, thank you. He also looked really, really good. 2 innings out of him. I think he had he didn't have walk a guy. He had a strikeout. So I mean, I think over the week for them, I mean they were pretty dominant. At times it was a little bit of a sleepy weekend. Like, it kind of didn't really feel, maybe it's because it just wasn't as attended as last week was. I was in Arlington, but it just felt like, other than that top half of the first Florida State, where it was 4-0 before really like they opened their eyes, that game 2 of Saturday, they pretty much dominated that weekend.
Yeah, and the fact is that, the Louisville game, they gave up 3 in the 9th. Otherwise, that's a 10-3 game, and we're looking at that different way. But, they were giving guys opportunities. The fact is, the offense, the pitching, everything seems to be working right now, Will, for this Auburn team.
Yeah, they shut down a really good K-State offense. I think in terms of runs per game right now, K-State's pretty high in the country. And then that Florida State game, like, even though it opened up 4-0, it was a pretty rough first inning. Auburn left a bunch of base runners on through the first 3 or 4. And I remember watching and thinking to myself, like, they're going to blow this thing open. Like, you don't just leave and sometimes it doesn't go that way when you're leaving runners on, but they had so much traffic early on and just couldn't scrape anything across until it finally just blew. And man, they were really impressive, especially coming off last weekend. Like I said, they were kind of sleepy against Youngstown, and they had to face some legit comp this weekend, and they really showed out on both sides of the ball. I was really, really impressed with Auburn this weekend.
Yeah, can't wait to see what more from Auburn we get. If this team is this hot without some of their key stars, and then they get into SEC play and they get healthy, watch out. This is definitely a top 10 team. Spoiler, we do have them in our top 10. We'll get to that here in a little bit. I want to talk about the Oregon Ducks. Jason and I have discussed this probably ad nauseum off air about how we think that this Oregon rotation is so good. All right, the 4 guys that threw this weekend, 21 innings pitched, 11 hits, 7 walks, 2 earned runs. Yeah, that's a .86 whip and a .86 ERA over the weekend. Jason, dead on when we talked about how good that this staff could be. Now, again, competition, you never know, but this is the team that gave Auburn every bit of it last weekend.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you kind of go up and down like that team, you don't really see like a stat line that like jumps out at you. Like, there wasn't a single pitcher who had more than 6 Ks. So it wasn't as if like they were going out there just like being dominant. But then you look at it and you say like, okay, they gave up 6 extra base hits in a week, like an entire pitching staff. So no loud contact, letting their defense win for them. And as you said, just basically putting up 0 after 0 after 0. So the Big Ten to me kind of just feels like a 2-team race right now. I'm sure it'll change, But right now, it kind of just feels like, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Oregon? Is it going to be UCLA? So we'll see. But it definitely feels like these two are kind of on a crash course to see who takes it.
Yeah, and we get that. I believe it's the last weekend of the year,
Yeah.
Oregon at UCLA, which is just going to be awesome. Will, Oregon has just performed, right? They're doing what we asked them to do. Go out there, play teams, and they're playing at home. Those of you who don't know, Oregon's cold and wet and rainy right now, and Oregon offense is putting up a ton of runs, but the defense and pitching has also been really, really good. They have a superstar in Maddox Maloney. They have Gabe Miranda has been fantastic transferring at first base for them. Nothing but positive things to say about the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, they're just playing complete baseball. Like they're playing like a complete team right now. Like Jason said, there's no one standout that's like, holy cow, this guy's lighting the world on fire. No wonder why they're 9-0 or 8-0, whatever they are right now.
8-0, yeah.
This is going to be a really tough week for them though. They get Arizona. I know Arizona is tripping over their own feet right now, but to say that that's a bad ball club is just too far from the truth. They've got UC Irvine, who, while they have struggled on offense, they might get to see Ojeda on Saturday. Then they've got Vandy on Sunday, and then they've got Oregon State in the midweek at home on the Tuesday. So, like, they've got a really tough week this week. I think this is the show me week, right? We talk about, like, that 3-week, 4-week march where we can start actually putting together, like, real good opinions on teams. And I think this is going to be a really big week for Oregon. I'm really curious to see what they do.
Yeah, if they take 2 out of 3 over the weekend, I don't care which 2 teams they beat. It's good wins. I mean, that's a really good competition. If they take all 3, you got to start looking at them, maybe thinking of maybe a top 10 team if they go take all 3 this weekend. It's really interesting to see this one, though. TCU, Coastal Carolina, and Oregon State. There are some concerns there. These are the teams that dropped the most in our poll. We'll talk about them more when we get into the poll. But Will, TCU struggles. They got the win today. But again, it didn't look pretty, and it was ugly to start that one. They have injuries. We know Tommy Lepore right now. They just haven't been able to click ever since that opening weekend. You know, it felt like that loss to Oklahoma on Sunday kind of sent them down this spiral. Talk to me a little bit about this TCU team, and then Jason, I'll go to you about Coastal, and I'll talk about Oregon State.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with TCU because there's still so much confidence in what they have talent wise, but man, like they've really struggled on offense. I mean, they've got 77 strikeouts right now as a team. Like they're struggling at the plate in terms of getting the ball in play. That's 77 strikeouts over 239 at bats. So you're looking at basically a just under a 30% clip right there. Not super encouraging to see that, but this is a team that's kind of banged up right now. I know UCLA just took it to them. They stumbled in the midweek last week, really struggle. And quite honestly, like LMU had them on the ropes for a good chunk of that game. It was nice to see them blow it open. I think that's an encouraging sign for TCU, especially when you have guys like Stroh-Snyder and Brunson that are still hitting the crap out of the ball. Like that's always really good to see. You just need more across the board, I think. And again, losing Lepore is going to be really tough sledding for them. We saw it last year with losing Ben Abelt right at the beginning of the season. So it sucks that they're kind of like accustomed to losing that top arm, but that's kind of been their story the last couple of years. So I hope Lepore comes back. Still really confident in this team. Like I think there's a lot of overreaction to them right now, but I think it's for good reason based on some of the things I've seen at the plate.
Yeah, and here's the thing we always say. Kirk Saarloos is one of the best at the end of the season, right? He gets his team going the right direction, no matter what they have going on, no matter who. I mean, we didn't think with all those freshmen they had playing last year that they'd be competing in a regional, and a lot of people had them picked to win the Corvallis regional. That's how good this team was at the end of the season. I have a feeling that Kirk Saarloos is going to find this team. He's going to get them the right direction. They're going to find the right arms. They're going to find the right pieces, and the bats are going to click. I don't have as many concerns about them as I do this next team, Coastal Carolina. Yes, they haven't had Hayden Johnson yet, Jason, but just overall, the staff doesn't seem to be sharp. The offense isn't necessarily sharp. It just feels like they're kind of misfiring.
Yeah, transparently, if y'all would have left them off the top 25, I don't think I would have argued with it. 233 team batting average. You have 2 All-American pitchers that either, injured or just, for precautionary measures aren't going. I mean, if you look at it, Tazi had a pretty good week, but other than that, Jordan Taylor was pretty good. But to your point, like the pitching staff just really wasn't there. And not only that, but the strikeouts aren't there either. So there's a number of things that I think you look at Coastal and you're kind of worried. especially what we've already talked about Southern Miss. They don't play Southern Miss in conference.
Or
So
Troy.
like, or Troy. So I mean, ultimately, like, your non-con is really going to determine your seating because your conference just isn't going to be as strong because of scheduling. So I think if this is one of those teams, if they wouldn't have finished runner-up last year, if they weren't a top 10 team starting the beginning of the year, I don't think they would be in the top 25 right now.
Yeah, they just haven't looked particularly great. I mean, they've won a lot of games so far, but it hasn't looked good. I mean, Fairfield took it to him in that first game. Cam Fluke, he didn't look like himself. Again, he didn't pitch this week. Hayden Johnson's still been out a couple weeks till he's back. They lose their closer for the season. Like, there's a lot of question marks with this team already, and the fact that they're not hitting
Uh, yeah,
is
and
a lot.
they have maybe the hardest schedule this weekend of anyone.
Yeah.
Their weekend slate is against 3 undefeateds. So it's going to be hard for them.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier until they get into conference play, and the Sun Belt's never fun anyway for opposing teams and going on the road in those games. It's not easy. Granted, again, no Southern Miss, no Troy, but they're gonna have to figure some stuff out here, Jason. I'm going to talk about Oregon State. The offensive concerns have been there. We've talked about it since the preseason. I said they're replacing a lot of offensive firepower. They had 6 new guys in the lineup. The 3 guys that have been in there have been good. Jacob Craig picked it up this weekend. Easton Talt's been good. AJ Singer's been okay. He can be better. The rest of the offense isn't really firing. They have a lot of strikeouts, a lot of swing and miss. They're not being able to put the ball in play. Mitch Canham wants to play some small ball, but he's not able to do that with guys not getting on base. So they got to figure some things out offensively. Pitching wise, I think they're going to be fine. I think that they're also limiting their starters. Again, Dax threw great, which he is our pitcher of the week. 17 strikeouts in 7 innings. He ties an Oregon State record with the 17 strikeouts. And Easton Talt robbed a home run also. Otherwise, he would have given up a run in that one. He got the no decision because he left the ball game 1-0 because of the offensive woes. But the fact of the matter is, when you have Ethan Kleinschmidt as your number 2, who's a really good number 2, he didn't necessarily perform great this weekend, but he was good enough. And then they just couldn't get runs for him to support. And then the bullpen gave up a bunch of runs. And Eric Segura on Sundays, he's going to figure things out. And Wyatt Queen, like, they have the arms, but the offense has to figure it out. And that's the concern for me is, can this offense figure it out? It's really hard in today's game to win 4-3 ball games over and over and over again. And as an independent, they're going to have to win 48 games to be a top 8, I think, this year with their schedule, and 42 probably to be a top 16. Right now, it doesn't look like the offense is there. I have major concerns on that side. Jason, I saw you shaking your head. You're agreeing with those numbers there?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think they'll turn it around, but I hate to keep harping on this because it's the whole point of a regular season is to get, seed yourself well for the postseason. They don't have a conference.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a conference with the way RPI and its kind of circular logic, if you start slow, it's hard to gain momentum. Yeah. Everything is with RPI. It's this big thing of, well, if you start high in that, and if you lose to a team that's also high, then it's like, oh, well, you just lost to a good team. Well, if you start low, it's also the same thing. It's like if you beat someone, then they theoretically drop more than they should because it's like, oh, well, that team just wasn't good. So unfortunately, like, there's a lot of circular logic that happens. And if you don't kind of start quickly, it's harder to climb late than it is to climb early.
Yeah, and people do forget, though, this team did go 1-2 last year at the same tournament and made it to Omaha. Yeah. So It's like people hitting the panic button. All 3 of these teams could be tournament teams, could be Omaha teams. Honestly,
wasn't there one win versus Virginia? If I remember correctly.
And
everyone was like, "Well, at least they beat Virginia." And then again, and then
Virginia
all
was
that
the team that didn't make the tournament.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Let's get to the top 25. We already talked about our pitcher of the week and Dax Whitney. Freshman of the week was Dylan Dubovic from Miami, and then player of the week was Roch Cholowsky from UCLA. But let's get into our top 25 here. Will, number 25 is our only newcomer, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, like, we do full-on composite ranking. So this is just based on I believe 7 writers that are all voting week to week. They actually they snuck in by 1 point in our composite score over Ole Miss, which in my opinion, like, I think Ole Miss being 8-0 played really well against Missouri State. I thought Missouri State could have taken 2 games out of that series. Like, they played really good baseball. kind of a toss-up, right? You have a loss against Oklahoma State in week 1. You have a loss against TCU, which might not look as good right now, but I think like coming into this week as well, that's a good loss. Yes, they look bad against Oklahoma State, and then they just handled Eastern Michigan this weekend. I think they're going to be fine. Like, again, this is a team that was the number 1 seed last year, right? And it feels like every time we doubt Vanderbilt, they find ways to win a ton of games, a boatload of games. It happens every single year with Tim Corbin. Yeah, I think this is a well-deserved spot in the top 25. I know they're kind of one of those bubble teams that have been, floated around in some rankings, not in others. But I believe we had 32 teams as a total getting votes this week. So this spot really could have gone a multitude of directions. Happens to go to Vanderbilt at 25.
Yeah, and I know that both mine and your Will, our bottom few teams, weren't on this list, and there's a reason. I mean, Vanderbilt deserves to be there. Some people had them much higher. I get it. They're a very good team. Again, the 20 through 25 spots are going to shift so much this year. But in our poll, it didn't shift a ton. Just one new team. Virginia drops to 24. Alabama here at 23. 22 is Coastal Carolina. That's a big drop. -8, Jason. Did we drop them too much, or do you think that's fair?
No, I think that's fair. And apologies, like I did want to go back a little bit to I mean, I'm a big time I don't know if you could say buy low for Vanderbilt at this point, but I would really buy Vanderbilt at this moment. I think they're a lot better than 25. That's my 2 cents. To Coastal, kind of going back to exactly what I said previously. I don't think I'd have them ranked, and it's. I really like the program. I really like the coaches, good guys. But at this point, like I don't think you've done enough to show that you should be in. And not only that, but even in their 5 wins, like some of them were just kind of by, barely. And so, again, you're talking about a team that has a sub 230 average, as a team. That's wild. So I think they've got a lot of holes right now. And they also have some question marks in the pitching staff. So, I mean, that, pitching and hitting, that's pretty much the name of the game in baseball. So when you have questions at both of those, that's not good.
It's a rough start for them. I will say our number 21 team, Florida, Liam Peterson looked better this weekend. He looked like the guy I call him the big enigma because he could either be great or he could be really terrible in those early starts. He looked good. Florida looks the part as long as they get healthy. I know that they had Kate Curlin, I believe, missed some time in that one. If he gets healthy, again, this offense can go. They're a team that could be anywhere from 10 to 21. We have them here just because they haven't looked as sharp and as good. Texas A&M at 20. Jason, the offensive woes showed out here because this is a team that we had much higher previously. But the fact that they didn't score on Penn, they lost a game 1-0, that you wouldn't guess that this offense would lose a game 1-0 at all this season.
No. I mean, you look at it, and Grahovac didn't really have a great week. I think he went 5 for 16. Hakopian didn't play. He's injured. Keel was going nuts. He still had a pretty good week. But, I mean, I think you look at it, and you're kind of shaking your head. Because, Penn is always good. Penn always produces great players. I mean, as most A&M fans can tell you, White Hensler was a Penn transfer to them. So I'm sure part of the reason they were there, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, was trying to see which potential transfer they additionally would want to see, maybe out of the pitching staff based upon how things went. But speaking of pitching staff, you have to be really excited because I think everyone and their dog, if they were to say what's their big question mark, was pitching. And Sadeo and Sims and Moss all looked phenomenal. I mean, the 3 of them gave up, I think, 1 earned run between the 3 of them. So you always look at things kind of glass half full, glass half empty. I think you could look at this and say glass half empty for their hitting for the week, but for the pitching, you're definitely saying glass is more than half full.
For me, I'm right with you, Jason, because that was the question mark I said. I said this offense won't be a problem when it comes to SEC play. Yeah. So I'm not as concerned about them. But the pitching was so good that it gave me cause for, hey, this might be a really good team when we were talking about them come the end of April and beginning of May, especially as long as they get healthy. I mean, missing Hakopian is a big piece of your offense. And everybody else has been a little banged up, so they've been trying to kind of piece things together early this season. But the pitching has been spot on and really, really good for them. So I like where they're at. And they're only going to extend those guys more and more as the season goes on. So I think that A&M fans
Terrell went Sorrell went 0 for 8 on the week. I mean, I know he's injured. He didn't play the fourth game, but yeah, he went hitless. And they've got a really big weekend coming up. They'll be in Globe Life this weekend. They play Virginia Tech and they play UCLA. That for me will be. It sounds silly for UCLA because they just had a litmus test, but this is going to be the litmus test for me for Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you've played who you've played. Vautech and Arizona State looks really, really good. Like they look really good.
They were my 24th team, by the way.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this is going to be shape up or shut up kind of weekend for Texas A&M because I think you look at it, they could very easily go 1-2, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they went 3-0.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's part of the reason why they kind of held some guys out this weekend also. They're like, Hakopian probably could have played, Sorrell probably could have played game 4, but why? Like, give him a break. You had a long season. It's not about winning this one series against Penn, which they won. They just didn't look great. But it's about the whole season, and I think that they're doing the right things by sitting those guys and getting them healthy before this next week, because this next weekend is a big one. Number 19, NC State. They look good in 3 games, and then they get shut out by Princeton. I did say that Princeton was going to give them a problem, and it was a very good Princeton team, and I was very impressed by the way that they played. They played good in 2 of those games. Now, Princeton got beat pretty bad in the other 2, but they looked good in 2 of those games and good for Princeton. But I think NC State here at 19 is fair. I think that they're a very good team. I think that they could rise. They could be one of those teams that we see in the ACC continue to rise to the top, especially with the pitching that they have. If they find out all they're figured out hitting, they're going to be just fine in the ACC play. Oregon State dropping down to 18 here, -7. They're dropping down for us. Is it too early for an offensive panic, Will? I know that we just talked about this. Is it too early, or do we kind of sit this team and go, eh?
I don't think so because it's been consistent, right? It hasn't been like, oh man, the offense looked really good today, but it looked really bad last weekend. I guess they're still figuring things out. Like they've just looked really slow on offense every single game. It seems like you feel like they have to hold the team to 3 or less runs to legitimately take a win. And you can't put that on Whitney and Kleinschmidt and Queen, and you can't put that on them every single weekend. And actually, I put out a tweet yesterday that got some hate because I like to use the pitcher's record stat against it at this one. And I believe that wins and losses are a silly stat for a pitcher, but I said Dax Whitney has no decisions this year with 1 earned run over 20
1
innings.
earned run and no decisions.
Yeah, with 23 strikeouts and 13 innings pitched. And people are like, this is a stupid tweet. And I'm like, but do you see where I'm going with this, right? Like it's I agree with you, yeah. But having said that, like he's giving you length, he's giving you a ton of strikeouts. He's looked really, really sharp. I mean, he looked like the best pitcher in the country on Saturday. He was running it up to 100 consistently. He was punching out dudes left and right. And for him to not get a win in that game, it's like you scratch your head. It's how many times is this going to happen to us this year? That's kind of what runs through my head. Like how many times are we going to see Dax Whitney, vintage Dax Whitney, go out carve for 6-7 innings and Oregon State walk away maybe with a win, but Dax gets a no decision because they got a clawback late or the bullpen coughs it up and they end up dropping one. So I think it's fair. Like I think it's really fair to say this offense is not where it needs to be right now. But that doesn't mean that they will not get there.
Agreed. I think that there's an opportunity. They have guys that are younger. They're going to have to learn, figure this thing out. They're probably going to play some freshmen. I know Mason Pike, who's one of their superstars, is going to be out for the next few weeks. He hasn't even played as a freshman yet. There's some guys coming. It's okay. Don't quite hit the panic button. You can hover over the panic button, though, right now. I'm okay with that. You can hover your hand over it. I just wouldn't slam it shut yet. Oregon at 17, we talked about them. They've been really, really good. 8-0 so far this season, beating up on George Mason and Youngstown State. 16, Tennessee. Will, they lost 2 to Kent State, but some people had Kent State in their top 25, as they should. It's a good baseball team playing very good baseball. Tennessee just looked kind of lost this weekend offensively, too.
Yeah, I actually put Kent State as my 25th team this week. Their 2 losses this season are at Lindsey Nelson against Tennessee and in Baton Rouge against LSU by a combined of 4 runs. So this is a team that's played really competitive baseball on the road in really hostile environments against very, very talented teams. And you could argue that Kent State should have swept this series. Tennessee wins on a walk-off on Friday, and then they just handled the rest of the series, right? I mean, they won a 2-1 game, but the biggest indicator for me is that it felt like Kent State had guys in scoring position every single inning. Like this was like an on-base machine this weekend. It was unreal what they did on offense, and I was really, really impressed both sides of the ball. Sawyer Solitaire, I believe, is the MAC Player of the Year coming into the season. He's got a 1,000 slug through 7 games so far. Like, that kid is mashing, 4 home runs, 8 RBI. They opened it up in game 3. I know we had that really obscure wild pitch from Tennessee late in game 3 that ended up pushing your like, never seen anything like that. Almost looked like one of those things where like an umpire calls time late and then you stop your motion. Yeah. It looked like that, but I didn't see anything like that happening. No, I mean, man, I think Kent State is just a really good ball club. Like, I think this is a team. They've played the hard portion of their non-con schedule. I think they've set up their RPI really well, even with their losses. And this is a team that I'm already saying, like, if they're the 4 seed in your region, if they run through the MAC, like, you're going to be really upset when you're the 14th host and Kent State gets thrown into your regional. So I'm really impressed with them as a ball club. Like, Tennessee is going to get there. I thought Tennessee looked rough on offense. I think that's the biggest concern. They struck out a lot, didn't look super sharp, didn't have a lot of guys on, not a ton of extra base hits. Again, like, it's not time to hit the panic. I know Tennessee people are like, well, it was a fun run while it lasted. Like, I don't think that's the case. The pitching is still talented for Tennessee. Like, I really liked what I saw out of the rotation so far. I think they're going to be fine. Like, you definitely have some things to clean up. I've actually, one guy that I do have some concerns with is Levi Clark. Like, I think, he was a world beater at the beginning of the year last year, and he cooled off the back half, but the stats were still really solid because of what he did in the first half. But he just hasn't quite looked the part yet of what I would have expected under another year of development with that staff. Yeah. So I think there's some cause for concern with Tennessee, but again, like, we got to wait and see. This weekend is going to be a huge litmus test for them. I think they're going to come out really hungry to win some ball games. They kick off with UCLA on Friday. They have Arizona State, who's playing some ridiculously good baseball, on Saturday, and they close out with Virginia Tech. So if you're a Tennessee fan, like, you got to say we got to win through this weekend to really see what we're made of. I'm really curious to see what they do against that UCLA offense. Like, can Tennessee's offense keep up with UCLA's offense? I think that's going to be a really good litmus test, whether or not they win.
Yeah, Jason, any thoughts for these Tennessee fans that are kind of sky is falling, chicken littling us?
Yeah, so what I was definitely will hit on Levi Clark. That was going to be the one that I was going to mention. I think you also have to look at it, and I think they're kind of instituting, the old adage of see who you got. I mean, they pitched 13 guys in those 4 games. So, I mean, it's kind of one of the things where, I mean, they pitched Mac, 6 2/3, Coons 5 2/3, Blanco, I think, only went 4. Yeah. I mean, if you were to let those guys go a little bit longer, potentially what could you see? So, I mean, I think out of all of those, I think they had 4 runs between the 3 of them versus Kennesaw. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, you have issues. Like, I think Blaine Brown had a pretty rough weekend. Yeah, the offense didn't look phenomenal, but I do think it's one of the things where I don't think you should be turning over tables because you lost a series to a good team at home. I think you should just say, like, hey, how do we fix the issues we have? So, I mean, I'm not worried if I'm Tennessee. I think you're a little worried if you look at the strikeout numbers. Like, the strikeout numbers were pretty high. Like Levi Clark, he had 5 Ks. Manny Merritt had 5 Ks. Both those guys batted under 100. Levi was 143 for the week. So I think you have indicators of we need to fix things, but I don't think you have indicators of the sky is falling.
No, I think it's early for the whole panic there for Tennessee. Don't worry, guys. You have a lot of talent. Again, they're being extra cautious with the starting pitching, especially Blanco last year, who missed so much time. They just want to give these guys enough time to be healthy, be 100% before they get to SEC play. That's the key. Can you be healthy with your arms? Can you get into SEC play and be ready to make that move at that point? As far as an SEC team, you don't have to panic about these early season games because your RPI builds when you play in conference, and you're going to jump up through that. So you don't have to go win these early games. You just have to find your pieces, like you said, Jason. Find out what they got on the arm side, find out what they got on the offensive side, and be ready during SEC play. That's the biggest key for any of these SEC teams.
Tennessee started with 14, 15-0 last year, and they struggled towards the end. I think most Tennessee fans would like the opposite. If you're going to struggle, you're going to struggle at the beginning and then get better at the end.
Yeah. Number 15, Oklahoma looked the part. They continue to perform. They keep showing up. Again, their biggest tests are going to come when we get now into SEC play for them.
2 games.
Clemson.
quick one on Oklahoma. 2 games with Arizona State tomorrow and Wednesday.
2 games. I have it highlighted. Yeah, on our Thursday
really,
night show.
really
It's gonna
good
be
baseball.
awesome to talk about those two. They get a double matchup there. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
I guess they're really good. I mean, I have it. Yeah, 2 undefeated teams. Really, really talented teams. Cannot wait for that one. Clemson also has looked the part.
I was going to say, I think Oklahoma is now to the point that we may actually be needing to bump them up a little bit more. Because I mean,
we bumped them up. I think 4 spots on
7
or 6 spots. 7.
I can't remember if you guys had them 22nd and now they're like 15th or so.
We bumped them up a fair
amount. But I mean, it's kind of odd. I don't think they hit a home run last week, which was kind of weird. But I mean, they put up a ton of runs without doing it. So walked just an absurd. They had walked 39 times last week. So I don't know if y'all were watching. Yeah, I don't know if y'all were watching those games, but hopefully you didn't have much to do afterwards because there was lots of walking. But yeah, they're a really good team, and again, the pitching is really starting to show out for them. So if they keep going, look out.
Yeah, that's the thing that we all had the question marks was after Cam Johnson, where you go, they seem to keep having answers, and then the offense was a question. Now, they didn't hit any home runs, but really good at bats, and Skip Johnson doesn't need home runs for his offense, right? He'll steal bases, he'll bunt, he'll do all the little things.
Clearly not. They put up crazy numbers.
So very excited for Oklahoma. Number 14, Clemson, again, they did the same thing, right? They just go out there, they won baseball games, didn't look necessarily pretty, but they went out there and they took care of business, and that's what you have to do in these early season games. TCU, we dropped all the way to 13, dropped them 7 spots. I know we already talked about this a little bit. The panic, don't panic, guys. If they get healthy, they're fine. If Tommy Laporte comes back, but there's some question marks there to keep an eye on for sure for the next few weeks here, and we're going to be keeping an eye on that very directly and seeing if anything drops about some of these guys. I mean, and missing Noah Franco also hurt them this weekend, so you're missing a lot of key pieces.
Are we done with that one? Or are we just doing the one-liner on TCU? You're not letting Will or I comment on that one. We got to comment on TCU.
Yeah, we got to talk about. We did talk about it early on. We did, but I think it's just important to highlight, like, some of the concerns that we have with Tennessee's offense are the same concerns I have with TCU's offense right now, right? It's the strikeouts. I mentioned they're striking out almost at a 30% clip right now. They're chasing a lot of balls out of the zone. The walk rate isn't real high. I believe it's 77 to 30 walks to this point in the season. So
2.3 Ks per walk. 2.3 Ks per walk.
Yep.
That's not good.
That's and like a 200 team batting average. We talked about Coastal being a 220. 200. I think what is it? I got 209. Just pull it up as a team. I know you were saying like, hey, like don't freak out. Honestly, if I'm TCU, I look at this and go, like we can turn it around at the Big 12. I think that's probably the saving grace. Is I think the Big 12 is down this year. Quite frankly, I think they're good. I think the Big 12 is in that 3-4 conversation. But I don't think it's as good as last year. I don't think Kansas is as good as last year. Arizona is not as good as last year. TCU's kind of it. Kansas State's about where they were last year. So, I mean,
I think feels a little bit down from last year.
Yeah. So I think your saving grace is that like you have conference games, but I think you had to like show something against UCLA, and they just got rocked. And I know we briefly mentioned they won today. I think they were down like 7-0, and then they put up like an 8 spot,
6-1. Yeah,
6-1.
I knew it was a pretty, like it wasn't, and they went
small.
Crazy in an inning. So I think it's one of the things where I think they're on a little bit of a slip, and it's like, okay, we need to just like get it. Who are they playing this weekend? Honestly, I don't know who they're playing this weekend.
Let me see. I can pull it up here.
I usually have all the schedules pulled up so I can comment.
They've got New Haven this weekend.
New Haven. It should be it. Yeah.
New Haven and Alba.
So real difficult. Nothing against New Haven, but
I think Mizzou just swept New Haven this weekend. So
I don't know what you're saying about Mizzou. No,
hey, I love Kirk Jackson. I got a Mizzou hat right up here on the wall. So
yeah, no. We be as objective as possible, but yeah, I mean, I think TCU looked like giant beaters at 2-0. They're 1-5 since beating Arkansas, and that one win was today, where they eked it out. So. Yeah.
Yep. I think we're just going to keep an eye on them. But this is a team that if they get healthy, get right, it still is one of those teams that we have to keep an eye out for. That's an Omaha.
Have we heard any more about Laporte Have we heard anything? Okay.
I have
No.
not.
Nothing official has been released at all. So yeah,
Okay.
we're keeping an ear out and our eyes glued to anything that goes on there in TCU. Southern Miss up 12 spots to number 12. We talked about them a lot. I just think that they're a
Yeah,
good baseball
yeah.
team, and they're only going to get better in my eyes. I think Colby Allen's going to start to stretch out his arm, and I think he's going to get even better moving from that closer role to the starter on Fridays for them. I think that they're going to be really competitive and be in that host conversation again like they were last year. I really like where they're at. Florida State at 11. Jason, they've kind of been like a team. Like I kept saying, this offense is going to roll. This offense is going to roll. They stumbled a little bit this weekend. They're also missing Trey Beard, who
Yeah.
hasn't really been able to go yet for them as like a full Saturday guy for them. Is that a concern, or are we kind of just like, okay, they're going to be fine?
So they looked really, really good versus Michigan that first game.
Yes.
Mendez
Yeah.
looked absolutely dominant. And Michigan, they're a good team. So I mean, yeah, it's a Big Ten program, whatever, but that's a good baseball school. Versus Auburn, they came out on fire. There was a really pretty scary incident. It was, I think, Estes and the right fielder. I don't know what's going to happen with Estes. It really looked like he was favoring his left knee pretty hard.
Yeah, he came out.
It was pretty wild. It looked like he was about to be an inside the Parker, and then they got him at the plate. Ironically, the Auburn hitter who hit it was slow to get up at home plate.
He got hurt too.
Yeah, literally like three guys, and they were all on the field. It was kind of a unique scene watching it from 20,000 feet up in Arlington. So I think for Florida State, you don't really know. I think they probably wanted to go in there and like dominate that weekend, and I think they dominated game one, and I think after they got punched in the mouth game two, I just don't think they were able to really turn it back around game three. They lost to Nebraska, correct? Game three, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, pretty good.
So, they got spanked by Nebraska.
Yeah. So that was one of the games I wasn't able to watch. So I think it's hard for me to really put a pulse on Florida State. Mendez is really good. That's probably one of the like great takeaways from them. And their hitting is going to be fine. Like their hitting is going to be fine. So you have a true ace on a Friday, and you have good hitting. So even though the weekend didn't go as planned, I think they're fine right now where they're at.
Yeah, and I think once they get Trey Beard back full and ready to go on Saturdays for them, that's a really good 1-2 punch. I mean, like you're talking about a really good pitcher that you're missing already, and they have a good chance because they got Citadel this weekend. They got North Florida here in the midweek. Then they play Jacksonville, and then Mercer, Northern Kentucky. Like they got some get right games coming up, right? Like 8 games to kind of get healthy, figure themselves out before they have that opening series against Wake Forest in the ACC. So. Again, I liked what they're at. They're still my national championship pick because I think that they have that kind of talent. Miles Bailey hasn't been a superstar yet, but they have the ability. John Stusser, again, freshman, got some opportunities after that injury, and I think that he could be a guy that could step up for them in the short term until everybody gets healthy. Let's move on to our top 10, guys. Number 10, UNC. No movement. We had them at 10 last week. They did exactly what they needed to do. Now, they split with ECU. They looked really good on Friday. Not so good on Saturday, and then rain delay into the game 3-3 tie on Sunday. I think that this is a fine UN North Carolina team. I think that they have enough offensively. They're still trying to find themselves with all these JUCO and D2 transfers, but I don't have any major concerns. The pitching is so good for them, and I think Saturday might have been just an abomination. That's not going to happen. An aberration. That's not going to happen every single week for this team. Jason, I know that you and I have talked about this pitching. It's really good pitching staff, and I think that that's kind of a rarity what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would have loved to see the end of that game versus ECU. I know that it was canceled because, frankly, I feel like I probably would have had ECU, and then when it would have been like 1-2, for me, like again, they were good, but the pitching staff, but no one was really dominant. DeCaro was obviously dominant. 8 innings pitched, no earned runs, only 7 Ks. Again, like I'm a big strikeout guy, but at the end of the day, if you're only allowing like a 386 OPS, there's not much better you can do. So, phenomenal in that. I think one thing you're a little concerned about is Flannery was a little wild. 4 walks in his 2 appearances, which you're not terribly excited about. I mean, really kind of the bullpen as a whole gave up a lot of walks. So I think there's some things you look at and you go, how do we – there's always that question of like, okay, you've got your DeCaro and, you'll get you like your 6, your 7. How do you get that 7 through 9? Is it one player? Is it 2 guys? Like, how do you bridge? And even if, like we were just talking about Dax, like even if you get to like that 6th, 7th inning, Arkansas struggled with this a lot with like Hagen Smith. It's like he would get to the 7th, but then it was like, how do we get basically those last few innings to win the game? Because if you can't bridge that gap, it almost makes it difficult to take out a guy like a DeCaro, because you're like, we need as many innings as we can from our starters. So I think if you're North Carolina, I think the phrase of the day is don't freak out. But I do think you look at the depth of your bullpen and you say, like, where are we going to find those pieces come ACC play that once we get to that 7th, that 8th, that 9th, we can just kind of hand the ball over and feel confident.
Yeah, and they got a lot of guys coming back from arm injuries, right, Will? Like, I think that they're going to be fine. But again, we haven't seen it yet, so you never know. Maybe those guys that were good last year, like Olin Johnson, Walker McDuffie, like maybe they just aren't that guy that they were last year for them.
Yeah, I shared Jason's face as we were saying, like, no movement. What do we make of this weekend? Because it was a really strange weekend. They really got beat on Saturday, and granted, 10 free bases. I don't know how often you're going to see that out of this pitching staff.
Yeah.
Boston Flannery is a guy that didn't really pitch at all last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he had under 5 innings last year. Yeah. So again, like, he's probably going to have to figure things out because he didn't pitch at all last year. But he was a guy that his first year out was really, really good. And Walker McDuffie, the stuff is really good, but he had 3 walks on Saturday, and it was like very uncharacteristic. Sean Jenkins for ECU out of the bullpen was just unbelievable. He was basically unhittable against UNC. So tip your cap to him. Like, that's just a ridiculous performance. And they piled it on late. I mean, they scored 7 runs in the last 3 innings. That was a 3-3 game. So, but again, it's the bullpen thing. And I was really curious to see how that Sunday game went, because I was like, this has a lot of implications for both teams, because ECU did not look very good against Xavier. They got getaway day against a struggling Jack Tatine, who pitched against Arkansas on Sunday, and Arkansas really lit them up and struggled last year at times. And so they beat him, who has proven to be somewhat beatable on Sundays. And then it was like, okay, like, you got to play against UNC, who looked really good to this point. And I thought ECU was really impressive this weekend. I know they got carved up by DeCaro, but that's going to happen at times this year. So it's one of those things where it's like, I get leaving them there. You go 1-1-1, but I thought it was worth a bit of a drop just based on, how that loss came. I know they won in convincing fashion, but you also lost in convincing fashion and in an uncharacteristic way. So this will be a nice little get right week for UNC as well. They've got A&T tomorrow, VCU on
as
Wednesday.
well.
Yeah, and at home. Yeah, that game was on Bosch. They've kind of got a lax schedule at this point up until they open with Virginia on March 6th. So they've got a solid week and a half to get right, figure out those bullpen pieces, like Jason was saying, like, how are we going to bridge between DeCaro and the back end of the bullpen, and who's going to be the back end of the bullpen. Got some good opportunities to try out a bunch of different things.
I still feel good when you go, okay, I got DeCaro, I got Folger Boaz, and I got Ryan. If I got those 3 guys, I'm feeling pretty good going into ACC play. But yeah, they got to find out some back-end bullpen guys. I think that they will. I think that they're going to find their guys again, like they did last year, where these guys stepped up and the health. Like, these guys haven't thrown a lot this year. They're going to throw more. They're going to get better. They're going to figure their things out. We're going to move a little quickly here. Number 9, Miami. We've already talked about them, but they did jump 6 spots in our poll. Are they a top 10 team? It's kind of a question mark, but I think that they've played well enough to be there. They deserve to be there. Yes, I have.
They're a top 10 team.
If
North Carolina is number 10, then Miami's a top 10 team.
144 runs on offense. They're outscoring opponents by 107. They're plus 107 runs in 9 games.
I was talking to Florida's coaching staff today, ironically, and I was just like, good luck. I mean, like, their Florida's pitching is phenomenal. And by the way, you were right on Peterson. Like, they did it. I told them, I was like, I was a little worried about Peterson. He's like, yeah, it was great to see how well he did. But that'll be kind of like one of that a movable object versus an unstoppable force
unstoppable
kind of
force.
thing. That's what it feels like right now with the pitching staff of Florida versus the hitting of Miami. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Number 8, Georgia. No movement again, but they're hitting on all cylinders. Will they hit and they put out, I think it's 7 different lineups so far in different positions. They've just had different people go out there and perform.
Yeah, I mean, when you bring in as much as you did, especially when you look at what they brought in, like when you look at like my really good example is like the middle infield. Like you now have 4 or 5 guys, all middle infield guys. Like Ryan Luo, like is kind
he played
of
center field.
Yeah, like you got him. You're bringing Ryan
And he went
Black,
6 for 6.
And he went 6 for 6.
And Ryan Black is not like he's got 18 at bats this year, but he's got a 1.2 OPS, and it's like, is he gonna play every game? It's you have so much to do, and a guy like Jordy Oriak from New Mexico is like he's just getting going. That kid's swing
he's gonna be real good.
I talked about him this offseason. Like that swing is nuts, and then of course like you get Wes Johnson getting Matt Scott and Joey Volchko pitching to a sub-2 ERA to this point. Like Dylan Viggy looks really good. Cade Naoki looks really good out of the bullpen.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a really solid team, right? And again, like we're waiting for the real test, right? I think that's the big piece with some of these teams. It's like, okay, what are they going to do against the big test? And quite honestly, we don't see it until conference play. Like they kind of are just going to get fat for the next 2 weeks, and then they open up with Tennessee and Athens, which is like that. Circle it. That's really what I'm looking for. And
yeah. It feels like they're not even missing Kenny Ishikawa, who was tremendous for them opening weekend. It's couldn't even talk about him not being there because it didn't seem to matter for this Georgia team.
No,
Jason.
It really didn't. And they played Troy in the midweek, but Troy doesn't appear to be the same team they were. I mean, Campbell really took it to them this weekend. The pitching for Troy, I think, is a really big concern for them, as good as that offense can be. The offense is definitely not playing up to snuff based on what they should be doing and based on what that offense did last year, because it's a lot of the same pieces. The pitching has a lot of questions right now, so I think that you're going to see something similar on Wednesday of this week, and then they just kind of get to hang out until they play Tennessee in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So my fun stat of the week, as I was kind of doing a review for this, was Georgia had 19 guys get at bats this week.
That's
19. There may be like 20 teams in all of D1 that have 19 position players. Like, I don't think you realize how silly that is, that they had 19 guys get ABs this week. Will, you mentioned it, like they have their A squad and their B squad, and it's wild because their B squad contains a lot of guys that would be A squad guys for other teams.
Yeah.
So for me, again, I think this team's undervalued, and I think they're mainly undervalued because they're so portal heavy, and people are like, how does that transfer? Pun intended. Maybe translate would probably be a better way of putting it, but they're so deep at so many positions that, again, as you stated, you can have probably the best two-way guy in Ishikawa go down, and they destroy a very good Samford team. Like Samford always puts out really good players. I mean, you look at Auburn and Alabama's rosters, it usually have a couple of Samford transfers on there. So, I mean, always a good program.
Yep. I think that we were high on Georgia, and I think we're spot on. I honestly think that the talent's there. The fact that 19 guys played and they hit as well as they did, they're right there behind Miami as the second best offense to me right now. And they might pass Miami, honestly, because of the competition they played. So we're going to see. But and they have the pitching too. Like if Matt Scott is as good as he can be under Wes Johnson as he has been, look out. This is a really, really good team. Cade Naoki is just so solid.
17 home runs last year.
Yeah,
that is. I mean, again, I know we're only 2 weeks in, but that's a good, that would be a good full season. And now again, that's 50% of the season, but you understand what I'm saying.
It's a very good team.
Yes,
I think we're fine there.
Good week. Yes.
Number 7, Arkansas. They took care of business this weekend. Jason, 9 strikeouts, 14 strikeouts, 11 strikeouts. The strikeouts are still there for Arkansas's offense.
Yeah. One guy, Pompey, I think is the biggest question for them right now. I think the left side of their infield I think it's showing the lack of depth. They don't have the 19 guys that are going to be up there getting ABs because, frankly, I think if they had more options in the infield, I think you would see some movement. Brumbaugh for them. We talked about this preseason that an outlet gave him SEC Freshman of the Year preseason and I was like, this is crazy. I mean, pretty much the word coming out was like he's a really good defender, really good athlete, but just not ready offensively. And I think he has one hit on the year, and it was a bloop against TCU. I think it was a kind of one of those slice swings where you hit it just right and it flares over the first baseman. So that's his sole hit on the year. He's played a really good shortstop, but Poppy is striking out all over the place. I mean, really, their offense right now is 3 to 4 guys, and those 3 to 4 guys are tearing it up, like absolutely tearing it up, which has helped them. But Xavier was down, I think, their 3 best hitters. And I think they had a pretty good case in 2 of the 3 games to win it. So coming out of this, I think there's a lot of weeks you say you won your every game, move along. I think that's what you say here if you're Arkansas. You're really excited for Fisher. You're also pretty excited for Dietz. I mean, he gave up some hits, but honestly, he looked pretty damn dominant for 3 to 4 innings. He had some pretty bad luck. Kojal's been great at the plate, but he had pretty rough fielding that series. A couple of the runs for Dietz were because Kojal just kind of misplayed some line drives or some flares, whatever you want to call them. So I think you're excited that you won every game. I think that's about where I'd be at if I was an Arkansas fan.
Yep, they're taking care of business. Going out there and winning, that's what they got to do. Number 6, Auburn. We've already talked a lot about them. This is a very good team. Good on both sides of the ball. And listen, Butch Thompson's as good as they come. Like, he's just a competitive winning coach. He's going to figure things out. And the fact that this pitching staff is as good as it's been, when this lineup gets 100% healthy, this is a top 5 team in the country to me. Very, very good. Mississippi State, number 5. Again, not a lot to go off of this weekend. Kind of ho-hum, but they're still winning. They're winning games. They're doing exactly what Brian O'Connor wants to do. Go out there, win baseball games, and set yourself up. Get ready for SEC play. Georgia Tech, number 4. Again, Georgia Tech's taking care of business. The offense looks there. The pitching looks like it could come around to be a really competitive ACC team. I think that we all have them ranked as the number 1 ACC team, which now going up against some of the likes of UNC and Miami could be interesting with how good the offense has been for Miami and the pitching has been for UNC. But again, Georgia Tech, very good. Drew Burris getting on the board with his home runs. I think this team's fine on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we've got 2 good weeks for both those teams too. Like I think Northwestern is a little bit slept on in terms of Big Ten teams. I know they really struggled last year, but there's a lot of solid returning pieces, and maybe not quite up to snuff with a lot of ACC teams, but I think it's the first reasonable test for Georgia Tech. And then Mississippi State obviously will be in Arlington this weekend, and they're going to face UCLA. Yeah, they're going to face UCLA on Sunday. I think they have Arizona State on Saturday. Really fired, or on Friday. So really fired up for them to also see what they can actually do against some top teams.
Yeah, Jason, you want to throw anything in on those 2 teams, the Mississippi State at 5 and Georgia Tech at 4?
No, I mean, really.
Just where they should be.
Yeah, I think that's where they should be. And I just to add on, I just don't think we know enough about them yet to really say too much, but they're just really good. I right now, I think when I went into the season, I was wondering where Georgia Tech was. I think they are very firmly solidified in that top 5 now.
Yeah, they've shown me enough. The offense has been good through the lineup. The pieces they added in Avincula and Ryan Zuckerman, that's great pieces on top of everything else they had. And Mace Patel has been good enough, and I think if he picks up that Saturday role, he's going to be good. No worries there, no concerns yet right now for Georgia Tech. And Cooper Underwood's been good as their freshman on Sundays. He's really shown that he can be a Sunday guy. So excited for this Georgia Tech team. Number 3, Texas, and this might be a team that we look at that potentially, if they keep playing like they are, they could be one of those teams we talked about in the top 5 for a long time this season, Jason. This pitching has been really, really good for Texas.
Yeah, I was on the bandwagon of, I'm not sure. I think I'm hopping off that bandwagon. I think, what is it? True wisdom is knowing that you're not truly wise. I think that's the lovely saying. I think in this instance, I can say I'm not truly wise on Texas. They're good. Yeah. I mean, again, Aiden Robbins is playing like a top 10 player in baseball right now, frankly.
Yeah.
Got the cycle, I think, on the Sunday game. Saturday, Sunday, I honestly can't remember. And you also have Tenney showing his power. So
He had a
you
ball that was, 18 degrees at
yeah,
112 miles an hour?
It's silly. And you add on to it, you probably have a top 10 pitcher in baseball going as your Sunday starter, which is bananas. So I think coming off of this, you're saying, okay, Texas is legit. Now, how does that translate? I'm not sure. Ashton Larson has been a lot better in the outfield, frankly, than I was. I think it kind of creates a difficulty for them with Jonah Williams, like coming back, because he's now starting to get back in the lineup. It's like, what do they do, kind of with that last outfield spot? Because I think Larson's played well enough that it's kind of like keep giving him ABs.
Yeah.
And if Jonah Williams is coming back, and then it's like, is it Livingston? I think was the Wichita State transfer. I can't remember specific, or was it Incarnate Word? I can't remember. One of the two. And then it's like, where do you kind of find those last pieces to really, fill in? Timo Becerra, I think he was the Stanford transfer at shortstop. He's been really good.
Yeah.
So I think pretty much every piece that they've brought in, and please check me on this if I'm getting it wrong. I'm doing all of this from memory because I didn't get to the final five when it came to my prep. They've found a way for all of their kind of you have a Swiss cheese of a roster, and all of their holes that they kind of had to try to fill in associated with the portal. I feel like they've done so quite nicely.
Yeah, you're looking at it going, okay, we lost Will Gasparino. He hit 5 home runs this week. Oh, we missed him. Aiden Robbins has been just phenomenal at center field for them. So it's like they don't miss a beat there. And you're right, dead on. Larson's been really good in the outfield. He might end up having to get at bats at DH. They're gonna have to figure out a way to keep him in the lineup because he's been good enough. I mean, and that's the thing. And Carson Tenney finally showed up for them as the guy that we all thought he was going to be.
He looked phenomenal defensively, phenomenal. He had one throw out that. We were talking about your 17-degree launch angle for a home run. I don't know the launch angle on that throw, but I want to say the exit velocity was 102. I mean, it was an
I think it was a
bullet.
-2-degree launch angle on his throw.
It was an absolute bullet. I mean, if you told me 0, I would have believed it. Because that thing was just like a straight line. And when I was sitting by a Ranger scout when I was there for the Lamar, Texas game, I was basically asking him, I was like, what are you looking for in catcher? And we just kind of we're going all over these, and basically Tenney just kind of marked all of them off. So it's again, phenomenal player. And summary to all of this is I am back on the bandwagon of the Texas Longhorns.
Too much to like.
Yeah, to your point, that pitching staff. I mean, we even just covered the offense, and what was the big issue for them last year? It was offense. You get Dylan Volantis, who hasn't allowed a run yet, and then you have Ruger Riojas, who's slotting in. He's got 19 punch outs through 11.
He's hitting mid-90s now. I don't remember that. The one thing with Riojas is when he got to SEC play, it felt like he was just getting hit. He didn't have a strikeout pitch. Now he's punching mid-90s.
And then you go and you add in Thomas Burns, who is a former starter at ASU, who's got 9 strikeouts in less than 4 innings pitched.
Pumping 99.
He's just back in the bullpen.
Yeah.
He's just hanging out in the bullpen. And then you have Max Grubbs, who was a starter a year ago, and 2 years ago was, I believe, their Friday night guy. And he's just hanging out in the bullpen now. So it's this pitch. Max Weiner has done unbelievable things with every pitching staff he's touched, and it just continues into this year.
Yeah, I was talking with the Lamar coaches after that fall scrimmage, and I said, you guys looked good against every single one. And it was the ASU pitcher that you were referencing. They just got completely blown away by him, completely blown away. So they've got a lot of arms. They've got a full stable, so to speak.
Yeah, Thomas Burns learned a wicked slider or slurve, whatever you want to
call it. It was 91. His slider was
ridiculous.
91.
And it just is a complete wipeout. You have no chance after seeing 99 in the fastball, and then you get that's going to go break over the outer half. You're like, I'm done. I have no chance to hit this ball.
For anyone who's never hit against 90 plus, if you see something coming in at that velocity, you're generally not thinking it's going to have that much movement.
You assume it's straight. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You seem it's either going to be straight or it's going to have like a little tail to
A
it.
little
Like,
tail,
okay,
but
yeah, that's it. I mean, well, like, if you're Whitney, it's going to have like half a plate of a tail. But so when you're seeing it like going the opposite direction you're anticipating, you're like, well, shit, I just looked really stupid.
yeah, getting 12
Yeah.
inches of break on a 91-mile-an-hour slurve, like, cool, that's fun. That's
Yeah.
fantastic, guys.
And crazy depth to it. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, you're just going to be swinging over the top of it, and if it was a wood bat, you'd be breaking a lot of bats.
A lot of bats. Yeah. What Texas has done with that pitching staff is tremendous, and the offense has been there. They look to be picking up the pieces right where they left off as the number 1 team in the SEC for regular season last year. Number 2, LSU. I think this kind of surprises people that we flopped them in UCLA, but I think it was earned. I think UCLA earned it. They played well. LSU has been good. They haven't really been dominant on either side of the ball, but they've been good. Like, they've been a good team. They're, last year's national champ. Will, is it fair to say that we made this call right by swapping LSU and UCLA this week?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be quite honest with you, I was actually far more impressed this weekend than I was coming out of weekend 1. Like I kind of said after weekend 1, I was kind of underwhelmed by them at times. I think the pitching for LSU is going to be really fascinating. I think you're going to see them piece together games in a really interesting way. I think they're going to use a lot of guys. Like I've been really impressed with Cooper Moore so far. William Schmidt has been really solid so far too. Kason Evans has struggled, and I think that's the big surprise. Yeah. But I think it's okay though. Like you still have Gavin Guidry hanging out in the bullpen. And I know he's didn't pitch at all last year, so I'm sure they're still trying to figure out how they're going to use him. But I think they're going to win a lot of games unconventionally in terms of pitching structure this year. And I think that's just the way they have to do it, right? When you lose 2 guys that were consistently giving you 7 innings every single Friday and Saturday, you kind of don't have to try to piece together games. It just flows naturally. And then it's like, oh yeah, we've got this freak on the back end of the bullpen that throws 103. Like, good luck. Like, let's go see what happens. And it's not really the case this year, but I mean, I think they're going to win a lot of games this year in a very unconventional way pitching. And I think that's the best way to put it. Offensively, they've looked really good. And I thought this weekend they finally showed it. Like, they beat the brakes off of UCF, and I thought that was going to be a really competitive game. Seth Dardar has been unreal. Jake Brown has been unbelievable.
Trent Caraway hit 9th for them.
Trent Caraway coming in. I love to see him playing well because he was a guy that just loved at Oregon State and was kind of waiting for the breakout, and it seems to have come. Again, another team that we kind of just get to see hang out until they play Vanderbilt in weekend 1. I'm actually excited for a couple of midweeks. I think the Creighton midweek, I believe in 2 weeks, is going to be a really fun one. Creighton's a really good ball club. They have to go to the Teague on March 4th. That'll be really fun. I'm sure coming into the season, Northeastern was one that I would have circled, but it's not the same Northeastern team as a year ago. So I'm kind of waiting on some midweeks, and then they open up conference play. So that's going to be the real test. But I think you just have to like what you've seen, right? Like they're winning games, and they won in convincing fashion this weekend. I think for me, that was the biggest sign of like, okay, like this team isn't actually as down as maybe I thought they may have been after weekend 1.
Yeah. I had questions on pitching, but I don't. I think that Schmidt is going to be really good out of the bullpen for them. I think that, or out of the that Saturday roll or Sunday roll, however they line these guys up, I think they have enough, and Moore has been more than enough for this team. I think that they're going to be really good. Jason, any thoughts on LSU and UCLA here as we finish this thing up?
Best way for me to represent LSU, I feel like, is Alabama basketball. I remember it was Indiana, and I think they were down like 7-5 or something. Indiana, like in the 5th or the 6th, like I can't remember exactly where it was, but they were down like midway through the game, something like that. And then they just stormed back to where at the box score, you're like, oh, I guess LSU done. They remind me of Alabama basketball. Like they could be down 10. It doesn't matter. They'll just keep launching threes. And at some point, like they'll come back. So I almost like mentally, I was thinking to myself, like when they were playing Indiana, like, our trepidations with this team were potentially correct. And then they just went crazy. Yeah. I don't think we mentioned York. He had a ridiculous weekend. So, I mean, they have so many bats. They have a ton of options and arms. They're just very deep. So I right now, they don't feel like the LSU of like, oh my God, we have to play LSU this weekend. But it definitely feels like they're going to be better than nearly every team, if that makes sense.
it feels like on paper they're still going to figure it out. And if they figure out the pitching, which I believe Jay Johnson will, and Nate Yeski, like they're going to figure it out. That lineup is too good. Like that lineup is really even better than I thought they would be with all the pieces they added. And we haven't even talked about Derek Carriel, who could win the Golden Spikes. And I mean,
he's having a pretty rough start to the year.
He hasn't been great.
He's got like an 800 OPS.
He hasn't been a great start, but that doesn't mean
him and Milam haven't been. No, I mean that's the thing. It's like you're doing all of this, and two of your top two hitters aren't really like tearing the cover off the ball just yet. And Stanfield as well, if you were to include him. So, I mean really it's been a lot of their transfers, as we talked about. Dardar and York and Carraway. They've been putting a lot of those extra base hits in that have really carried them through some of these games.
Yep. And of course, UCLA at number 1, which we already talked a bunch about. There's so many good pieces. I mean, they're
number 1.
Cervantes got his first start in the midweek. He looks like he could be in the weekend at some point. He's that good. Like
somebody should have drafted him, don't you think?
I guess you have to take him in the first couple picks because he was drafted in the second round and they didn't get him. Like Pirates fans are just so angry at the world right now because this kid is tremendous. This is a very, very good UCLA team. Final thoughts here, Will?
Yeah. One thing to Jason's point earlier on UCLA, they play the toughest schedule in Arlington of anyone this weekend. They have Tennessee on Friday, A&M Saturday, and then, of course, you play Mississippi State on getaway day. So you're looking at 3 top 20 teams to round out your weekend. But it's really important games for UCLA. Not only is this last year, quite frankly, they were overmatched in Omaha, I thought, just based on the eye test. Like they're overmatched in Omaha. Sure, some of it comes from, you play the Big Ten the entire way. And then, outside of Oregon and Michigan, it's kind of, you kind of just beat up on everyone. This is really important to say, can we hang with these teams this year? Like 3 teams that could be in Omaha this year. Can we hang with this caliber of team? And B, can we beat this caliber of team? And if both answers are yes, then you go into Big Ten play where, pants up high and you're ready to beat the crap out of some Big Ten teams. And we might see this team win 55 games this year if that's the case.
For sure.
If not more.
And to add on to your comment, 2 of those 3 teams are kind of almost at a fork. Like Tennessee is going to be coming into this thing like not a must win. Like it's not a must win week 3, but it's like a must win for kind of like the locker room, if that makes any sense. Like let's like turn this around. Show that last week was that aberration that you were talking about, Mark. And then with A&M, like they had like a players only meeting after game 2 of Penn, where they basically were trying to say hey, we need to turn this around. So I think you have 2 teams that are basically trying to figure it out. And then you've got Mississippi State with Oak, who that's kind of like, this is going to be his first coming out of this is what my team is going to be. So we talked about maybe Coastal with the hardest week of any of them, but UCLA is up there as well. Yeah,
as one of my good friends says, both those teams are pulling out their GPS and trying to decide which direction they're going to go because it's going to be interesting to see this week. Very excited. Awesome top 25, guys. Thanks for joining us again. Thursday night, we're going to be doing a live show. If you guys have questions, feel free. DM them to myself. DM them over to Will. DM them over to our inbox. We want to hear any questions you guys have, especially about these awesome midweeks. Can't wait. Thanks for joining us again here live on the Top 25. Every Monday night, we'll be here live with you guys. So thanks again for Jason and Will. I'm Mark.
Bye.